really strange and bizarre was happening. His lung tissues were turning solid, hard as a rock. Which means that, okay, think about it. Your lungs have to expand to take in air. And if they turn into stone, it won't expand and you can't take in air. Imagine the feeling of wearing a corset made out of stone, 2 sizes too small. It's like the feeling that even if you try with all of your might to take in some air and lift your chest and expand it, you're not getting oxygen. It's that feeling, but probably amplified to the 100th degree. Doctors have no idea what to do. They had never seen anything like this. They don't know how to help baby Lee. Ultimately, baby Lee passed May 5th of 2009 on Children's Day. He was less than 100 days old.
Translates to this. Hello to all the people of Guadalajara. We are the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. As you might know, the influencer or scumbag Fofo Marquez dared to obstruct the flow of traffic on the Matute-Rimus Bridge, which is an act that we don't tolerate. We'll not allow this animal to get away with this. We are in charge of Jalisco and all of Mexico. We would not allow you to come to Guadalajara and do this type of thing. If you ever step in Guadalajara, not you or your money would save you from us. Now, seeing how El Mencho and the CJNG as a whole are driven by intense violence, it could have been anyone who wrote that message to Fofo. Members of the CJNG believe that El Mencho should be feared and worshipped by Mexicans. So Fofo pulling such a stunt in a town under the direct control of El Mencho himself was an insult to El Mencho.
Day 2025, is this the start of a completely new global order? A new US-centered order that will emerge right after the current chaos in which countries are divided in 3 groups, or as Scott Bessent calls it.
I think we should make it very clear that there is a green, a yellow, and a red bucket. And we let everyone know where they are.
In these buckets, it will become very clear that some countries get low tariffs, military protection, and maybe even some preferred US dollar access, while others are left to fend for themselves. At least, that's the picture I got from going through all of the speeches and papers by Trump's closest economic advisors that I could find. So, let's get into it. What is this MAGA master plan for a new global order? And is this plan actually feasible, or is it just a pipe dream of a madman and his stooges?
Worked for Master P. So like he had all this studio equipment and stuff, like, and we used to go to his house and record and everything. But rewind back, he called me one day. He was like, "Man, you want to go shopping?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I want to go shopping." So like he's like this white kid, and then he's coming to the projects to hang with me. But everybody like liked him because I introduced him to all my friends. Like he was a rapper, like he was just cooler than everybody for real.
Right.
So I'm like, "Hell yeah, I want to go shopping." He's like, "Oh, I'm finna catch a cab over there. I got you." So he caught a cab. They was living like on Lake Wiley or something like that. He caught a cab all the way to the west side of Charlotte. So when he got there and everything, he was like, "Just come outside." He called me. Well, he didn't call me because there wasn't cell phones then.
Right.
I think he came and knocked on the door, I believe. And he had like money in his pocket. He's like, "Come on, man, we finna go to the mall. Which mall you want to go to first?" I'm like, "Shit, let's go to Freedom Mall." So Freedom Mall is like, we used to walk to Freedom Mall, you know, as kids. So it's kind of like 10 minutes from where I lived at. So we catch the cab to Freedom.
Sometimes just a phrase in a pitch deck. Tricolor Holdings collapsed even faster. Tricolor operated as both a used car dealership and a subprime lender, offering high interest rate loans to borrowers with limited or no credit history, many of them undocumented. It packaged those loans into AAA rated securities and sold them to investors. When repayments faltered, the whole structure unraveled. Fifth Third Bank, one of its creditors, is accusing Tricolor of fraud, alleging that the company pledged the same collateral to multiple creditors. Investigators are now combing through what may be a corrupted loan database, and banks have begun repossessing vehicles.
And then you don't want to have 100 in the summer when it's 200 degrees outside. So it fluctuates quite a bit. But the YouTube channel is predominantly now, I mean, it's kind of overrun by all the bad. In the beginning, I made the YouTube channel and I was like so excited I would go and film all the times I'd buy a new car and, you know, save up the money and build my business. Yeah. And now it's just turned into all the bad things that are happening. So
give us an example of that.
Well,
like what stands out the last 6 months?
So I'll actually give you like a little sneak peek. These videos aren't out yet, but I can now talk about them. We We're the first company in the entire world to have a Huracan STO for rent. And the third or fourth renter drove a little bit too aggressive next to a construction site and jumped off the side of the road. The car was essentially totaled, all the body panels. There was like a couple $100,000 in damage. So the insurance company,
even if you're leaving, Salvation Army, this is the #1 crime hotspot in the entire city for us.
I know.
Let me tell you.
I'm a retired Baltimore City.
Okay.
27 years. I come out here.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
talk.
I get it.
Then let me
I'm
talk.
sorry.
Well, I think we're getting our wires crossed a little bit, because what I'm trying to get you to understand is, I understand that you're just leaving if you're off duty. But if you know that this is the highest crime area, right? If you know this is the highest crime area in the city, and you know that that's likely to be with your law enforcement experience, and we're going to be in the area, probably not the best idea to be wearing a vest, armed, going to and from. Yeah. Because it's going to make us think something up to and including possible criminal impersonation of a police officer. That's why you're detained. We get all that checked out, and you know what? Sure. This might be an error for their bosses and our bosses, because if this is all true, right, and we weren't, and we just weren't notified, that's what could have solved this, is an email saying, hey, just so you know, there's a guy, he's law enforcement, he's being hired off duty at Salvation Army.
Still alive. If she looked down, there would have been certain parts of her body where she could see straight through her skin, her tissue, her muscle, and see her bones. There were giant holes all over the lower half of her body. She was completely covered in feces. There was feces in her stomach, inside her stomach, in her mouth, and even her ears. She had been trapped on this couch for the past 12 years of her life. By the time that she was found, she had melted through the couch into a hole, and her skin was fusing with the brown leather. The only contents found in her stomach would be sofa cushion foam and feces. Did she eat it out of desperation? Was she fed it? We don't know. The worst part is, we're still unclear why any of this happened. There are theories that range from locked-in syndrome, where someone is fully conscious but unable to move their bodies,
and the financial markets. Adam, one of my favorite people, Jim Chanos, has this saying that we're living in a golden age of fraud. And I kind of agree with him. There's a lack of integrity at a lot of companies. And, you know, some of the factors that are making this such a big problem, in my view, is there's just like a lot of easy flowing money. And when you're in a period where there's lots of venture checks being written for things, and investors are throwing money at, you know, anything that's growing, that kind of makes good people do bad things and bad people do worse things. Lots of easy flowing money is not a good thing for integrity. When you have lots of retail participation in the markets, I think that can lead to companies or CEOs of publicly traded companies, you know, being a little misleading, trying to cheat around the edges to get their stock price up. When you have like a weak punishment dynamic with regulators where you can just do wrong over and over again and the fines are kind of minimal, and usually they're at the corporate level.
AI researcher Coco Tayo predicts that in 2 years, AI will be like a country of geniuses. Self-improving and thinking 50 times faster than humans, it will be too dangerous to release. Coco Tayo has a remarkable record of accurate predictions, links below, and he risked $2 million, nearly everything he had, to warn the public.
What's so nuts is that in order for you to speak freely, you would have to give up your already vested equity.
It was 85% of my family's net worth.
He says AI risks overturning nuclear deterrence and triggering nuclear war with China, a scenario that several experts have warned of. Based on current progress and wargaming with experts, he predicts that in 2027, AI will fully understand its own mind, untangling its messy design into a far sharper, more rational system. The AI quietly